we're going to move on to the public hearings. Alrighty, so let's move on to public hearing number 1. You want to read that? I'll let you read
Sure.
one, and Christy read one. You wanna read one?
Okay. To hear input from the public on a request for the final plat for Meridiana Detention Reserve Y, being a subdivision of 9.975 acres out of the Oliver Hall Survey A-203, being a partial replat of a portion of lots 6 through 14 of Luling Stone Section 1, as recorded in Volume 21, pages 267 to 270 of the Brazoria County Plat Records, and being a portion of Lot 15 of Luling Stone, Section 1, amending plat as recorded in Volume 22, pages 165 to 166 of the Brazoria County Plat Records, City of Manvel, Brazoria County, Texas.
So, anyone want to speak on that public hearing? I have 2 speakers here, Denise Roberts, Laura Moorhead. Either one of those want to speak on this public hearing? Okay. Okay, that's what we're dealing with right now. And so we'll close that public hearing and move on to Meridiana Detention Reserve Y. So we'll go ahead and move on to, if there's no citizens' comments or submissions, we'll move on to B. We'll let you do that, Christy.
To hear input from the public on a request for the final plat for the Meridiana Detention Reserve Z Phase 1, being a subdivision of 11.89 acres out of the Oliver Hall Survey A-203, also being a partial replat of a portion of lots 1 through 8 of Luling Stone Section 1, a subdivision recorded in Volume 21, pages 267 to 270 of the Brazoria County Plat Records, City of Manvel, Brazoria County, Texas.
Okay, that's on Reserve Z. Do I have any citizens' comments? It looks like this is on the Family Planning Center, so that would be neither one of those. Any other citizens' comments for the second public hearing? And we're going to move on to the third public hearing, which is, I'll let Ryan do that.
To hear input from the public on an ordinance of the City of Manvel, Texas, amending the zoning ordinance of the city by amending the zoning classification of 21,000 square feet located at 7507 Masters Road, Manvel, Texas, from Light Commercial District, State Highway 6 Overlay District with specific use permit to Light Commercial District, State Highway 6 Overlay District with specific use permit LC/SH6 SUP, providing for the granting of a specific use permit with conditions to authorize the use of property for NAICS use 621410 Family Planning Centers, providing for the amendment of the city's official zoning map, providing for severability, and providing a penalty in the amount not to exceed $2,000 for each day of violation of any provision hereof.
Okay, so I think there's a Denise Roberts here. If you, this is your moment.
But I was assured, just through speaking with an older representative, that this will not have anything to do with being a Planned Parenthood facility in our area. I'm just trying to make my voice heard as far as that I'm opposed to any type of planned parenting facility that could possibly promote, encourage, or perform abortions.
All righty.
That's all I needed to say.
Okay, well, thank you. Then that would leave Laura Moorhead. All righty.
I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm a board member of Her Heart Pregnancy Help Center, and we will not have anything to do with abortions. We just want to love on the women of this community, and we're excited to get to serve them with pregnancy tests, parenting classes, and then one day sonography so they can see their baby. And then we'll refer them out, you know, if they need to see a doctor, that kind of thing, for, you know,
prenatal care and that kind of thing. So we are looking forward to get to serve everyone, and I'm here if y'all have any questions. And thank you, Jessica, for walking a newbie through the process. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, sir. So what do you want to do? Yes.
I'm Evangelist Rodney Smith. I am the owner of Blaze Barber Studio. Okay, most oftentimes that we hear Planned Parenthood, there is occasions that there are given information about abortion. I am pro-life, and the victims are here that are here are the baby and the child, and it also could be you. Because in the blood of Jesus, it is life. I'm saying this here because we often tend to go to things about money. And in this environment, I have been here since 2005. I have seen drugs. I have seen the prosperity of it. I have seen this neighborhood being dragged down into erroneous behaviors. I've saw things. I've been here since 2005. I've seen things that bring. I've been in neighborhoods. I come from an area of this child parenthood. I come up from a place called Third Ward. I come up from the Planned Childhood areas, and it does promote abortion. It gives information about abortion. And I'm telling you, as citizens and of Manvel, Manvel was founded on love. The first family of Manvel was founded on love. I'm saying this for all of you to make a strong decision, because you can fall victim. Sometimes snakes comes in, and they tell you some are venomous and some are not venomous. But then it's still a snake that withers in. I'm saying this because to protect the neighborhood, I come as a beacon into the community. I come to prophesize, because once you have victims of giving abortion, victim of the parent, victim of a child that's been aborted, you fall into victimizing, you fall into condemnation of what Manvel stand for. I'm saying this here out of pain and hurt. I come from a place of this nature. It brings drugs, because the parent that did the abortion, they go to a mental state, and then there's a drug that causes them to mellow down. And it comes another drug for them to deal with it throughout life. Please, please, please stand against this, because your heart and your decision is counted on God. God is life. And if you can fall into the condemnation and have to deal with the guilt and sin of the public on money, on getting money from the government, of giving different things of life, shame on you. Shame on you. God is life, and I stand boldly in it. Give a child an opportunity. Give a mother an opportunity to be a mother. Some of these abortions that are here been given, the fathers don't even know. Give a father a chance to be a father. Don't fall into the condemnation of the devil. God bless you.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Yes, sir.
to introduce myself. I'm Stephen Mann. I am an elder at the church on Masters Road and on the board for Her Heart Pregnancy Center. I'm here with Laura. And we want to assure everybody that we have no desire to promote abortion whatsoever. I'm not completely clear on why there's any sort of misunderstanding, but our desire is to serve, the families in this community who, through choices that they've made to help promote life. And so we have zero desire whatsoever to promote abortion. That is not our goal, and will never be a part of Her Heart Pregnancy Center. And so I want to assure you in that, and if there is any confusion, I'd be more than happy to. Laura would be more than happy to answer any questions that anybody in this audience has in regards to what we desire for the pregnancy center. And so one of our board members right now is at a conference that is life affirming and, is looking forward to coming back and just moving forward with this. And so we, I guess we're confused that there's any sort of confusion. And if we can make anything clear, we certainly want to be able to do that. Some of the services that we do and we'll provide are just free diapers, necessities for women that may not have the means to purchase anything and everything that they need for their pregnancy, for their newborn baby. Myself, praise the Lord, I'm adopted and was born in 1973, pre-Roe versus Wade, and I praise the Lord that I was. I know that, had it been a year or 2, 3 years later, that, I may not be standing here before you. And so, as we go through this, we're open to any questions you may have, and our intent is to simply serve the community and to glorify God in doing so. And so, thank you all very much.
Thank you. Y'all might want to talk. And we've got one more. You look familiar.
Just a little familiar. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Dan Davis, for the record. I live at 6818 Powell Lane, and it was nice to be here tonight. I've been building backyard furniture for the wife, working through that honey-do list, so I told her I needed to take a break to come here. I'm also a board member for the Her Heart Pregnancy Center, and I think one of the things that we see in our society is we constantly hear people say that they're pro-life, but yet when women choose to keep the babies for whatever the reason is that they're keeping the babies, they don't have the support or the resources, or they struggle because of that. Maybe they don't have family around. Maybe the father ditched them. Whatever it is, they find themselves in a difficult situation. And Her Heart Pregnancy Center is created and intended to make sure that when women choose to keep the baby, when families who are in difficult situations choose to keep the babies, they have the resources, they have the tools, they have the support that they need to be able to give that gift of God, that life, everything that it needs to be successful in life. As the Reverend said, a lot of people find themselves in difficult situations because of the fact they have to choose between bringing up this baby in a very run-down, beat-up situation or aborting the baby. Well, Her Heart Pregnancy Center wants to open in Manvel to serve not only Manvel, but also what I like to refer to as the greater Manvel area, in order to provide resources to those ladies, to those families that choose to keep their kids. And Jessica, appreciate your work on this, the rest of staff's work on this. I think it's been a little bit of a unique situation with the NAICS coding, and what does that look like based off of the location? What's it going to be? What's it's going to do? What can we allow in those regards? And so I appreciate y'all's consideration of this matter tonight and look forward to seeing what your recommendation is. Thank you.
Thank you. Guest ID? It's not the computer. It's not. Yeah. Who? I don't know. You're just trying to confuse me by doing it that way, aren't you? Yeah, it's okay. Okay, thank you. Sorry, a little delay there. Any other comments? Okay, we're going to move on to the consent agenda. All consent agenda items listed are considered to be routine by the Planning Development Zoning Commission and will be approved by one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items unless a Planning Development and Zoning member so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in sequence on the agenda. So, anybody have any questions about what is on the consent agenda? Ah, you're looking at me, Kyle.
Nope. I have a motion
All righty.
to approve the consent agenda items A through F.
I'll second.
Dang, nabbit. Then all I need is a show of hands for a yes, and we are unanimously yes. All righty. Let's move on to the regular agenda, and I think we'll go A, B, and C the same way. A, B, C. If you don't mind. I know, for all these years.
Well, I'll do it.
Okay,
But I'll just
working on it for all these years.
All right, consideration and possible action to approve and forward with recommendation to City Council, final plat for Meridiana Detention Reserve Y.
Okay. With that, Miss Jess.
Good evening. Staff does not recommend approval of the Meridiana Detention Reserve Y final plat. We have 13 reasons why. We'll go through those very quickly. Updating the date in the title block, providing the land surveyor's signature, labeling street names in Meridiana Section 10A, labeling the street widths in Meridiana Section 10A, label the street names in Meridiana Section 7, label the street widths in Meridiana Section 7. General note number 4 is to state that the property is located in med number 56. This final plat takes access from Meridiana Inspiration Way Phase 2 final plat. This final plat cannot be approved until the Meridiana Inspiration Way Phase 2 final plat is approved. Updating all the dates from 2021 to 2022 in the PD&Z signature block and the City Council signature block. Providing drainage district signatures, provide signed notarized lien holder subordination document. Update all the dates from 2021 to 2022 in the owner's signature block and the notary's signature block. And finally, providing a paid certified tax certificate from MUD number 56.
Okay, questions, comments? Thank you, Jessica. Questions? Comments? Okay. Then I'm looking for a positive, negative motion.
I will give you a motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor of the motion on the table to approve, raise your hand. Okay. All those opposed to the motion on the table, raise your hand. And the does not pass. So, Ms. Christine.
Okay, consideration and possible action to approve and forward with recommendation to City Council, final plat for Meridiana Detention Reserve Z, Phase 1.
So this is the final plat for Meridiana Detention Z Phase 1 final plat. Staff does not recommend approval of this final plat, and that's for 7 reasons. 1, update the date in the title block. 2, provide the land surveyor's signature. 3, this final plat takes access from Meridiana Inspiration Way Phase 2 final plat. The final plat cannot be approved until Meridiana Inspiration Way Phase 2 final plat is approved. 4, drainage district signatures. 5, providing signed and notarized lien holder subordination document. 6, provide a paid certified tax certificate from the MUD. And 7, that the ultimate right-of-way width for the C12 is 120 feet. Provide 1/2 of the 120-foot drainage easement right-of-way with this plat.
Okay, any questions? Comments? Then I am looking for a motion.
Motion to approve.
I will second that.
All those in favor of the motion to approve, raise your hand. All those opposed, raise your hand. Get everybody? Yes. So we have a unanimous opposal. Opposal? A new word. Okay. Ryan? To number?
Item C, consideration and possible action to approve and forward with recommendation to City Council, final plat for Meridiana Section 30B.
Ms. Jess.
The Meridiana Section 30B final plat, staff does not recommend approval, and that is for 5 reasons. 1, provide the land surveyor's signature. 2, to provide the drainage district signatures. 3, to provide a signed and notarized lien holder subordination document. 4, to provide a correct city planning letter for the Meridiana Section 30B final plat. And number 5, label the 4 lots in Block 1 in the correct order as the construction plans are labeled.
Questions? Is that 30B?
What was wrong with the planning letter? This is the correct city planning letter. Did they provide one? It just wasn't correct?
I believe they submitted, it was a city planning letter for 30A and not 30B.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, questions? Comments? Motions?
I can give you a motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor of the motion to approve, raise your hand. All those opposed, raise your hand. And it's a unanimous opposal. We're going to move on to letter D. I'll let you do that, Kyle.
You'll make me read.
I do. You can do that.
Item D, consideration of possible action to approve final plat for DeBello Lake Section 8, being subdivision of 12.908 acres of land situated in the ACH and BRR Company Survey Section 90, also known as Kate R. Ernman Survey Abstract 459, Missouri County, Texas.
This is the final plat of Del Bello Lake Section 8. Staff does not recommend approval of this final plat. There are 9 reasons why staff does not recommend approval. Number 1, provide the land surveyor's signature. 2, dedicate 10 feet of right-of-way for the 40-foot county roadway. 3, construct 1/2 of the 40-foot county road per section 6211. 4, update the date from June 8th, 2022 to February 22nd, 2022 per updated city planning letter in note number 2. 5, provide a 60-foot wide lot width for Reserve E. 6, add City of Manvel elevated storage tank to the use list for Reserve D in the reserve table. 7, provide approved construction plans by the city engineer. 8, label the 30-foot drainage easement for utility and drainage. 9, relocate the southern property line to the northern property line of the 30-foot utility and drainage easement.
Okay, do we have any questions? Comments? Alrighty, I'm looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor of the motion to approve, raise your hand. All those opposed, please raise your hand. And the motion is denied. Okay. Christine, you want to read number E?
So just have to read the start on this one.
Just to start.
Item number E, consideration and possible action to approve and forward with recommendation to City Council Ordinance 2022-0-10.
All right, I'll give you guys a.
Sorry.
That's okay. I'll give you guys a. I never know sometimes. I'll give you guys a short presentation. This is a SUP specific use permit that was filed for property at 7507 Masters Road, and this is going to be for a family planning center, which is under NAICS use number 621410, and the applicant is Her Heart Pregnancy Help Center. If you recall, I think it was in February 22nd, 2022, which would have been an early February meeting for this commission. You heard another specific use permit that was for this property, and that was approved by City Council on February 22nd of this year for a medical clinic. So they comprise 1/2 of the building at 7507, and now Her Heart Pregnancy has made a request for the other half of that building to establish the use there. With family planning centers under NAICS 21410, we have some predetermined conditions that are already in place for this use. One of those being that facilities operating hours from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. each day, unless the SUP authorizes a different time. For example, the previous SUP that was approved by council for the medical clinic, that medical clinic requested that the hours of operation begin at 7:30. So City Council amended staff's recommendation to include 7:30 to 10 p.m. The second predetermined condition is that all the waiting and lobby areas have maintained an unobstructed view from the outside. And third, all doors shall remain unlocked and accessible during normal business hours. So in addition to these three predetermined conditions, staff has made a recommendation for additional conditions. Let me go through a little bit of the background on the property. So half of the building is going to be used for this use. With the previous SUP, one of the conditions that was in there was that the parking lot be improved from the crushed concrete and asphalt surface. So since then, the owner has applied for civil site permit, has gotten approval, and started construction on this site. And that's going to be for a concrete parking lot. And with the concrete parking lot, also with the painted parking stalls as well as the fire lane. When this project came in, we had this application that was in the works for specific use permit. So we took into consideration parking for the entire building with the correct parking ratio, so we won't be under any amount of parking on this site. So this property, as you know, is located on Masters Road. It's approximately 400 feet south from State Highway 6 on Masters Road. Both Masters Road and State Highway 6 are on our major thoroughfare plan, meaning they're going to be larger roads one day with 120 feet of width, and we'll be handling a lot of traffic. But what we found through the last SUP that we went through, which is a similar use with the facility, is that both of them will generate very minimal trips per day. So we don't have any sort of alert there that we're going to be putting too much traffic on these major thoroughfares. So despite that the concrete parking lot is under construction right now, you'll find in the recommendations for the conditions, staff is reiterating that this concrete parking lot be completed before the certificate of occupancy. We don't have any doubt that that will happen, but we just wanted to ensure it here in the specific use permit. So the conditions are 9 conditions that we have, and one of those, I'll go through the list. The first one is the property and facility are going to be governed by all the requirements in section 7750 of the zoning ordinance. Those related to the hours of operation, not blocking the door and such. 2, that the parking lot shall be improved with a concrete surface per the adopted City of Manvel design criteria and approved by the city engineer before certificate of occupancy is issued. 3, provide striped parking spaces per section 7745. 4, the property owner shall comply with section 7751, which is landscaping and building facade requirements when a redevelopment or substantial improvement occurs on site. 5, the property owner shall comply with section 7736, which is our state highway overlay district when redevelopment or substantial improvement occurs on site. 6, no new freestanding light fixtures shall be greater than 25 feet in height. 7, all new outdoor lighting shall be designed so that no light spillover onto abutting property exceeds 3/10 of a foot candle when measured vertically. 8, a clear path for emergency vehicles shall be maintained at all times. And 9, the request for the use of the internal space with no exterior modifications. Any interior modifications will require life safety reviews by the fire marshal and inspections throughout the building permit process. And to answer that question on number 9, that does happen through the certificate of occupancy process where both building, health inspection if necessary, and also fire marshal for fire safety is conducted at that time. So that concludes my presentation. If you have any questions, additional questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
If my memory serves me correctly, then these conditions are essentially the exact same as the other one.
The only difference was that we changed it to concrete. So the previous SUP allowed for the asphalt surface because we just wanted that improved. And the property owner actually decided to do a concrete surface parking lot, which is with our design criteria, no modifications required. So we were pleasantly pleased that there's going to be a concrete parking lot there. So we just changed it and stipulated it in this SUP.
Questions?
Well, under the zoning of this, to change this, it's approved to be medical clinic. It's the way it's stated here.
The previous SUP was a medical clinic, and I'd have to look up what that number was, but this is 621410. So they're going to be, if this gets adopted by council, you'll have 2 SUPs on that property for each of those individual uses.
Because it's split in half.
Yeah, that's what I want to make sure, but doesn't bleed over with the medical, and because that becomes surgeries. I mean, it's more of a question to make me understand that.
So the medical clinic is just your standard doctor's office. So that's separated from what a dentist's office would be. So it's just general practitioner that happens there. So that's allowed. City council approved that. So on that piece of property, once that use gets established, it's permitted. It runs with the land. Same with this right here. It's not her heart pregnancy that's necessarily, tied to the use. It's the use is tied to the land. So looking and, factoring in that with the compatibility in the area. But I'm a little confused about the surgical question, if you want to help me with that.
Well, under surgery, like you said, dental surgery. There's other things that are surgery, not just this. And like you said, it does tie to the land. It doesn't tie to them. It could they could turn around and sell it tomorrow. And it could tie in to whatever's coming in the future. So that's where I'm kind of torn. Do we open the door or do we not open the door? But I understand what they're doing. So.
What is your question to opening the door to?
I'm not sure if this helps at all because I'm not a medical professional.
Me either.
But it talks about services on an outpatient basis, and in this case, the way it reads straight out of NAICS doesn't take into account any sort of religious aspect that's going on with this organization, but it talks about contraceptive services, genetic and prenatal counseling, voluntary sterilization, therapeutic and medically induced termination of pregnancy. So
That's what I was wondering in the code. So.
Yes.
Okay.
So it does include those or it does not include those?
It does. It also allows under fertility clinics, pregnancy counseling centers, reproductive health service centers, family planning centers, counseling services for family planning, childbirth preparation classes, birth control clinics, and abortion clinics.
So is the entire property would have 2 SUPs, right? It wouldn't be half the building have this and then it would be the whole property would have
Yes. So the way the SUPs
medical
are
and the
the way the SUPs are written with the ordinances, how they're approved by council is you have to establish that use within a certain period of time or the use does expire. So we've had instances where we've had a use that was done by SUP by council that expired and then that person had to come back and ask for it again. Typically when someone will ask for a SUP, they're ready to go, they're ready to establish that use. But if the use never gets established, it expires. As long as the use gets established, or in other cases, sometimes there needs to be a substantial construction. In this case, the building's existing. So when there's substantial construction, now the SUP still becomes effective. But yes, it runs until city council were to say, we don't, we want to get rid of this use on this SUP. I've personally never seen that happen, but you still could take that away from that site. That's why with SUPs, we try to give you as much information about, the land uses that are surrounding, traffic impacts, et cetera, because each of these SUPs is on a case-by-case basis of how you're going to say yes or no, or what those conditions look like. So if you'd like to put some additional conditions on this, you can, to make that recommendation to council. You can use the conditions that staff provided for you, or deny it.
Christy, did you have something you wanted to go with?
I think I'm just, I think the concerns of many of our comments that are here today is that we don't want to open the door that says this could be an abortion facility, essentially. I think that's what the concern, not that that's the intent at all of the people who are wanting to open it. That doesn't seem like that's their intent. But this particular SUP, it's saying that it would be allowed within that. Is that what I'm hearing?
Under the NAICS number, it does permit abortion clinics.
Is there a code for like a ministry or nonprofit? I mean, I don't know if that's what y'all are, ministry or nonprofit. Is there a code for that doesn't fall under this particular code?
Earlier today, Laura and I had conversation, and there was a proposal for, I think the number is 813, I forgot the rest of the digits, but it's essentially religious organizations. And when you read the definition of religious organizations, it's a church, it's a synagogue, it's a mosque. It's that organization. And when you go in and you read further, it talks about maybe religious retail stores. Well, religious retail stores get put in with regular retail stores. Same thing with any sort of clinic or counseling. It gets put in with the same thing with this family planning. Besides being an actual religious institution, the code doesn't recognize if someone's coming from a religious background with a business or not.
Gotcha. Okay. Can Dan say something?
Let's let these. Anybody else have any comments before we go for the audience here?
Can you put a condition that no medical procedures or anesthesiology can be done at that? I mean, that would stop that, wouldn't it? No, she's a general practitioner, a nurse practitioner. If that's correct, this first SUP she's not performing.
Okay, while she's doing that, Mr. Davis? Got a comment?
So as a board member strictly, I know that you guys are looking at the conditions. I don't know if this would be possible to consider, but adding the condition that upon the certificate of occupancy for this portion of the building changing hands, or someone else coming in to apply for a certificate of occupancy or permit, adding in a condition with this SUP that this SUP terminates or expires upon that point. Because as was stated by myself and the other board members, we are an organization that encourages, supports, and fights for life. And so we, as well, would not want to open the door for an abortion clinic to come in the future, at the same time want to offer this essential service to the area. So if there's conditions, and I speak for myself and hopefully the other board members, if there's conditions that can be put in that would, this SUP would expire upon, because we don't own the building, we are leasing the building, that it expires upon our lease being terminated. I don't know if there's any conditions there, but just wanted to.
Then the zoning runs with the land. You can't make a contingent on the occupant.
But we're willing to consider any ideas you guys might have in those regards.
There's no condition you can put in there that's.
Well, he's not
It's
gonna tell you
contract
what to do.
zoning. You're going to take it away if you don't do something.
That makes it not a zoning matter. It's a license at that point almost. No, you can't.
Nice thought.
So going back to Christine, what you brought up as far as surgery. So the previous SUP, the way this one reads is that it's establishments of healthcare practitioners having the degree of MD or DO primarily engaged in the independent practice of general or specialized medicine, except psychiatry or psychoanalysis or surgery. These practitioners operate private or group practices in their own offices or in the facilities of others, such as hospitals or HMO medical centers. So it excludes any surgery in that. So
They can't run next door and take care of it, basically.
no.
So what you're saying then, for clarity, what you're saying then, and I think this is your question, no surgery would be allowed. Is that what you're saying?
To put a condition that no surgeries or doctors, procedures, medical procedures are permitted under this SUP. Because it doesn't matter if there's a clinic next door, she's not allowed to do surgeries. So that would answer both questions.
But if they do ultrasounds, is that not a medical procedure?
It is.
It is. And
It is.
ultrasound and
You-
all that is,
you-
and they're licensed. So that's, how do you do it without getting in that field?
Bobby, is it possible to simply do something as simple as
No
it has to be
anesthesia.
renewed every 5 years, every 3 years, every something like that?
It's gonna run with the land until it's changed through the whole zoning change process again. And I guess the issue is, I don't know if it could be separated into two parcels. I'm not real familiar with the property itself, but it sounds like you have one applicant, got it rezoned for a particular use on part of the property. Now you've got a second applicant to rezone for other part of the property, and you have an owner that owns the whole thing. So I don't know if there was a way to go by any property description, if it's all under one property description, if they have two separate addresses, or how it would work, that it could have been done separately, where you could have had, the doctor's office be able to do minor surgical precision, whether it's
That's what I was
moving
going to
warts or
ask.
whatever.
Is what's stopping the medical side from?
Right now,
Or you- I mean-
the parking lot.
No. I mean,
Sorry.
when they open, what's stopping the medical side from performing, these things? Like what, if they're able to do procedures and stuff like that as a medical facility,
So it doesn't.
then is it just the verbiage on here that, just,
The family planning center that scares everybody?
Yeah.
Is that-
I mean, they may not advertise that they are going to do that, but they might be able to. You see what I'm saying? So I think we might be looking too much into this. Just
They've
Are we-
already
are we
got
just
their
not-
zoning-
Okay, hold on.
I'm losing track, I guess, of what the question is. And to go back to Bobby, what Bobby said, it's the same piece of property. You may ask, why weren't these done at the same time? We didn't even know about this when we were going through the other process. We were basically at the city council level trying to get approval for the Office of Physician's Use when this application came in. So I don't think that applicant would have really kind of getting hung up in this one. So they had to come forward separately.
I guess my question is this: based on the code, the SUP code that has already been approved for the medical side, are they under the code able to perform abortions?
I mean, I would say no, because it's an office of a physician, but there's no way for us to know because it's primarily engaged in the independent practice of general or specialized medicine or surgery.
So then, there's nothing to debate. They've already
Correct.
right.
And-
It's
and-
just
and-
I think the wording family planning scares everyone. When technically it already has an SUP that says this doctor could do that. She may not be advertising it, but she technically could.
But that's a whole different entity. I mean, that's not for us. I mean,
But they
the
said the
doctor
zoning
tore it
goes for
down.
the land, so it goes for that whole property.
So let's keep in mind something here.
That's what I asked.
I think there's a suite A and I think there's a suite B. But it doesn't run with the address.
Yeah, it's
It
still
runs
one
with the
address.
property, yeah.
And you have to be consistent. One thing you can't say, like what Christina said, no surgical procedures for this occupant, but for that occupant. How do you defend that from a land use standpoint? Well, what's our
Land use.
justification
Land
for saying
use.
it's
Well, even
okay in this
even
room,
if the-
not in that room? So
even
we
if
have to be
the
consistent.
planning clinic was not there, anybody can still go next door and get an abortion. So
That's what I was trying to say.
that's what I'm saying.
Remember something.
They're, this is,
You can't eliminate everything bad that's going to happen. This sounds like something that's positive coming in. Yes, it could be something horrible. It could. But but you do need to realize. Okay, we're gonna keep this civil and everybody be quiet while we talk up here, please. So what we're doing here, we can't eliminate everything that's not good.
I have one more suggestion.
Okay?
As far if you were going to do that sort of thing in that planning, you have to have surgical equipment, you have to have, the anesthesiology, all that stuff. That's a lot of things that a fire marshal would have to inspect, correct? Before it was given a green light. So if they go in there and they see all that, I mean, now granted, they could go do it after the fact, but that would at least on our due diligence on our, that there's nothing there that could lead, that shows that we're.
No, I don't,
Just my suggestion.
yeah, I think,
it goes back to, I think it goes back to the same thing that Bobby said as far as consistency of allowing the 62111 use and then this use.
okay, so let's keep in mind what we're trying to do here. Any other questions? We're gonna have to make a decision here. Get ready, because I'm gonna make you raise your hand. Can't have it both ways. Can't let the good, because you're afraid of the bad. Just my opinion. Yes, you can, absolutely positive.
So I'm going to offer a comment. So prior to probably about a year ago when the zoning ordinance was amended, and city council made that amendment based on human trafficking was the impetus behind it. But while we were looking at it, anything that involved regulations as far as SUPs on massage parlors had to have the same regulations on them in the medical industry because you couldn't discriminate against one or the other. But city council, so that's why we're in this position that we have the SUP. So prior to that, this was an outright permitted use. It would have never come up for debate to this board and then city council having that. So this is giving you the opportunity to thoroughly vet these things, which I think should give you all some comfort as you get to see them on a case-by-case basis and make that recommendation to council.
And again, Dorothy, from a legal standpoint, like I said, consistency is key. It's compatible with the surrounding land use. Jessica has met all with the conditions, any potential problems, quote unquote, with this use at that location, very specific, and as she's done the conditions with that in mind. And we can't be arbitrary and capricious in our decision. And it's very hard from a legal standpoint to justify why the medical clinic's okay, but family planning, which I think is less of an impact, frankly, is not okay. And it's really hard to defend at that point. I think it's consistent with the compatible with the adjacent land use from a legal standpoint.
Thank you. Sorry. I know you want something else. Go ahead.
No, as far as like, so if if they come in and they move out, right, does that permit still stick for that?
Land use.
That's the thing, so it still sticks with it.
But it's already there.
Right, you're right. I guess that's true, it's already there because the clinic's
Already there.
Is this the same code used for like a counseling center? It is.
My mic's not on. I don't think it is.
I was asking if it was the same code used for like a counseling center.
Microphone.
Like, oh, sorry, if this was the code used for also like a counseling center.
We have a different code that's similar to the previously adopted SUP. This is 621112. Those are offices of physicians, mental health specialists. Those have psychoanalysts, psychotherapists, psychiatrists, mental health physicians' offices. That's more of, I guess, psychiatry and not just counseling with.
And because there's no doctors per se in this group, then they can't, they wouldn't.
Planning is very different. This is a
fall under that. Well, I know, but it seems like they're going to be doing like counseling to women. That's what it sounds like to me. So I was just trying to see if they would fall under another code. But
Does that mean you put it under the wrong code?
no, I'm not saying she did anything wrong.
No,
It is.
No, I'm just trying to be creative to see if it could fall under another code that would make everyone feel better.
Your specialty. Is to.
if it was just counseling, I don't know. I need to let me try to do a little bit more research because we have offices of mental health. Oh gosh, that was the one I just had. I'm sorry, y'all.
Jessica,
I should need to start bringing my book to this meeting. It's okay.
Dan.
yeah, I was just curious about, did y'all look at 624190? Only because it talks about parenting support services, counseling services. So, you know, in the same sort of spirit, it doesn't say family planning, but the other one, family planning, pulls up the only code in the whole thing that has the word abortion in it. So even the SUP that y'all just did doesn't have the word abortion in it. So to answer your question, it would be a zoning violation among other things. But
Right.
if they did it under
What's the number?
624190, 624190, it's technically called Other Individual and Family Services. I don't know if y'all looked at that one, Laura, or not. Of course, yeah, no, it's the logical one. It's the unintended consequence.
Also too, when Laura and I spoke today, this is the NAICS number that they're using for insurance purposes. I feel like some of this has come up a lot lately where people don't like this came up with the airplane part repair thing where no one sort of liked what that was classified, except that's what they were reporting to the Department of Labor and Statistics. Typically, if I have a bit of a hard time sort of classifying what the use is, I will go back and ask, can you give me that number? Because I realize looking at this code online or whether in a book is like a daunting task for someone who's not working with it on a daily basis. 62419, alcoholism and drug addiction self-help organizations, alcohol counseling, community action service agencies, crisis intervention, drug addiction self-help organizations, social service agencies, family welfare services, hotline centers, marriage counseling services, parental support services, parole offices privately operated, probation offices privately operated, rape crisis centers. There's a lot of things that's under this use right here. I don't think that you would be classified under 624190.
I mean, just.
That's not. I know. I'm sorry. I'm trying to do three things at one time when stuff is getting thrown at me up here. Again, conversation that was had about religious organizations. I don't know who wanted to put you guys as religious organizations. It says this industry comprises 1, establishments primarily engaged in operating religious organizations such as churches, religious temples, and monasteries, and or 2, establishments primarily engaged in administering an organized religion or promoting religious activities. Cross-references. When I cross-reference, establishments operated by religious organizations primarily engaged in health and social assistance for individuals are classified in Sector 6.2. And we have ended right back up what's before you at hand. If you want to find another, you think I'm not really doing this right, I'm all ears. If you want to table it so we can do further research, if you've got suggestions, but being as though the use is, their insurance is using the same code that we're bringing forth to you. I don't think we're on the wrong path here. It's just nobody likes the A word, abortion is what you're hung up on. And I don't know, I can't be the decision factor. We've made our recommendation for you guys, so, based on land use assumptions.
Can I make a quick recommendation to this board? And I think we can do this, Bobby. Can we take this back into an executive session real quick and discuss it? And because I know it's on here.
I can't think of an exception that we would fit under.
I mean, just for clarification of a few things that,
No, you have to have a very specific reason that state law allows to have an executive session.
the numbers. The NAICS numbers could be clarification.
That's not a reason for being able to have an executive session.
Oh, okay. Just asked, I mean.
I'm not an expert on it, but just looking through the list for the other codes, I think it's creative, but I really don't think that's what they fit under, especially considering they have other things they want to be able to do as well. I think that only addresses one of their intended purposes.
I think what you need to think about is that we have an expert here. There's 3 of them. So that's what we have them for. I know, and like she says, you don't want to use that word. Nobody wants it. But we're here now. And you want to throw out the baby with the bathwater? That's good. I'm with you. Maybe.
I don't think it's that. I don't think it's that anybody wants to frustrate. I mean, it's everybody, I think it's kind of on the same page, but, we want to, I think it's just a matter of just being very careful about, this is one of those issues that people are either very for or very against. It's a very divided issue. And so, we want to just, I think, if you feel very strongly about it, you want to be very careful that you don't want to make sure that you're opening a door that you don't feel comfortable opening. And so I know that, it gets into the legal jargon of, well, what is this used for and what is it not used for? And we don't want to keep somebody from being able to do what they want to do and the right intent. But I think at the same time, it's just always feeling like you're responsible for a decision or something that's changed in the future, and I think that's why, not to frustrate anybody, but just to do our due diligence to make sure. I think it's, if it is possible to come up with a code that wouldn't open that door, that's what would make everybody the most comfortable. But at the same time, we don't know all of the different codes of things. And so we're all sitting here trying to Google to find out what other codes can be used. And it's,
May I say something? So the recommendation that staff has brought before is based strictly on land use, not how anybody feels about it or anything, or politics aside, because at the end of the day, it's the land use of, that's what we have to live with. That's the case anytime a rezoning is brought forward. That's the case anytime any other SUP is brought forward. Decisions aren't made on who owns the property right now or who's leasing the property. Because sometimes people make you feel real warm and fuzzy about what it's going to be, but you've opened the door until that changes at some time in the future, and usually that doesn't. I don't see where else I can fit in this use with a different NAICS number. If you want to table it so staff can do further research, but I'm pretty confident that we nailed this, and there's just a lot of conversation about changing the NAICS use number so we can make it fit otherwise. So, but
Ladies, really, I want to hear what y'all are discussing.
well, I was just Googling I just Googled what other crisis pregnancy centers used, and and I just came across a couple of them. Again, you're way more of an expert than I am. But it does
So
that
hold
one that you were
on
talking
then.
about, 624-190.
Before you go, are you a crisis center? Or are you a family planning center? Okay. Okay, so go ahead.
That's, I mean, that was the first thing that came to my mind was what is a crisis pregnancy center code used? And so, but again, like I'm saying, I'm just Googling this. I am not an expert on all the codes, and I will not claim to be an expert on all the codes. But that does tend to be one that at least some other crisis pregnancy centers use, but I don't know how if this one is coded in the same way that that one is.
So if you choose to have staff go back and do research, and it's found that we need to change the NEICS number, we have to re-advertise again for a public hearing and bring it back before you for another consideration.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
It's a different coding.
Right, it's an entirely different coding. So, are you telling me y'all want to table this?
I'll make a
I think we can make a decision here. You're gonna have to follow whatever. But I think the staff has, done their homework with the applicant. How long has this been going on?
Since beginning of February.
I think that's trying to find out. Personally, I'm not going to be afraid of what's going to come. It doesn't sound like.
Yeah, their intentions are honorable.
Right, and to deny that seems, but I think we need to, if you don't have any more questions, Kyle. I know you got one.
No, I just have to,
Got one more question.
I don't.
You sure? Ryan? Then I'm looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve number E with the conditions recommended by the city.
I will second it.
Okay. Okay, people, think clearly. All those in favor of the motion on the table, raise their hand. All those opposed? 3-2. 4-2. 4-2, I wish I could count.
Take that boot off.
Put your head down. So, okay. Then we are going to move on to letter F. I'll do this, because Kyle can't read. Consideration and possible action to direct staff to provide applicants written statements on the conditions for any condition approvals and the reasons for disapproval of any plans or plats that were not approved per Texas Local Government Code 212-0091.
I can give you a motion to approve letter F.
And all those in favor of the motion on the table, raise your hand. And that's unanimous. Consideration and possible action to approve excused committee members' absences. Will we approve Mr. Mohammed's absence? I need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second?
I can second that.
Second. All those in favor of the excuse of absence, raise your hand. And that's also unanimously approved. One more, and one more.
I'll make a motion to dismiss.
A motion to adjourn.
Adjourn, sorry.
I
All
will
those-
second it.
And all those in favor of the motion to adjourn? And we're good. Ryan, put your hand up.
Stay. He wants to stick around.
You want to stay, Ryan? You still have to. Thank you, thank you.